Welcome to the live Q&A with Lama Chodak Rinpoche here in Tharlam Ling Buddhist Centre. We have several questions here so far, but we will take some from Zoom as well as Facebook if they come through. So, are you ready for the questions, Rinpoche?
Yes.
Yep.
I think so.
Rinpoche, in terms of interdependent origination and dependent origination, can these terms be used synonymously, or is dependent origination a more general term? Can you please explain both the terms?
Yes, the interdependent origination is probably more universally inclusive than dependent arising. But original word in Buddhism means this is due to that is due to this. So they are mutually dependent, because this is only this because of that, that is because of this. So they are, this is, or tall is tall, not because it is tall, but it is dependent on having something shorter than it. So likewise, the shorter is only short because it has a taller one to it. And so they are mutually dependent. So, but this term is mostly still yet to be standardized, because very important technical Buddhist terms are starting to be understood, or maybe terms are being thought out and still debated, which is more appropriate. A lot depends perhaps to the comprehension of the people who uses the language and who knows the original language, and then it will, in time, they become more standardized. In Tibet, when they translated from Sanskrit into Tibetan, it took 300 years before they are standardized, and they were revised, even though the people in the 8th century thought they standardized, but the people in the 11th century revised it again, and and then as a result of the revision, they became stabilized or standardized in the Tibetan language. So I think some of the key Buddhist terms will take a good few decades, if not more than that, before they become standardized. For instance, words like affliction, defilements, disturbing emotions, emotional instability, various translators have used all of these terms interchangeably, because it has to develop an understanding as the maturity and comprehension of the users of these terms comprehend the meanings. So I think that they both are used, and it will take time whether either of them become more standardized or something else become. Some people have used the word contingency instead of an interdependent or dependent origination. Everything is contingent. Means everything is everything is contingent on many other things. It doesn't. It could not. Like say, aging is dependent on birth. And that particular birth is not dependent to the future aging, but so the birth of the person is not dependent on the aging that will happen in the future. So from that way, it's not codependent, because birthing is not dependent on the aging that will yet to occur. But yet, the aging is definitely dependent on having being born. You couldn't age unless you've been born. But the aging of the person who is aging now, the person who has been born, aged and died previously, previous life. So therefore, it is dependent on the sense that how a person died in previous life, say a person who was killed in violence, previously probably will bear some marks of the birth that has to do with a lot of trauma when they're born. A lot of crying. Children were born with a lot of crying because they still can unconsciously remember all the wars and fightings. So the child may not remember its past life, but its previous life's death, impact of that is still scarring the mind of the person. He or she don't remember that, but still they do. So from the Buddhist point of view, the birth of the person now is dependent on the aging and death of the previous life. Of course, without having died previously, you can't be reborn in this life, and so because of that, it is mutually dependent rising.
A question about Avalokiteshvara. A mala for a specific deity's mantra is typically made with prescribed materials. What should a mala for Avalokiteshvara be made from?
Thank you. Yes, this is a question regarding use of prayer beads. Avalokiteshvara is practice of compassion, and one of the hand implements of Avalokiteshvara is crystal rosary. Usually they recommend a crystal rosary for reciting Avalokiteshvara. But if, say, like Lulan Avalokiteshvara, doesn't mean you can't use Bodhi seeds, or doesn't mean you can't use red sandal, or doesn't mean you can't use amber or coral or whatever. But usually crystal rosary is the recommended one. Reason for that is not always the deity related. It's related to the activity and qualities of the deity. Avalokiteshvara is a peaceful deity. All peaceful deities use white material, crystal being one of them. You can use conch, you can use other, maybe ivory, if it's legal. Most of the Tibetan High Lamas have ivories. I don't know whether they should or shouldn't be using. They think it's something you must, but these days it's a taboo to be using ivory. So crystal maybe didn't come from killing sentient beings, but they also use bone, bone also. But usually Avalokiteshvara is crystal or glass, even in some kind of white material is used.
And is there appropriate incense that should be used for Avalokiteshvara?
Oh, I'm not sure, because the incense are these days made from various countries and people. Traditionally, there are incense that has particular prescribed materials that compound must have. That 25 particular herbal substance must be there, minimum. Even a little culture must be there on top of whatever is more emphasized. So usually I don't think there are some wrathful deities for which they necessarily use frankincense and some particular gums of trees for particular rituals. For wealth deities, they use gums of trees to burn during the ceremony. But general incense that we use is for all deities. I don't think but the offerings are usually two types: peaceful, wrathful offerings. If the deities are concerning wrathful, then there are specific prescribed ones. But otherwise, they use any incense that uses all the prescribed 25 ingredients.
And a general question, is there a best practice for overcoming laziness?
Yes, that is the practice to remedy laziness is to meditate on death. You have to meditate on the death. There are, very specially tailored meditation on on the 9 levels of decomposition of the body that say the body died, the person died today. The first, because a hour before the person died, you could sit there, you could still feel them, their warmth, their maybe. Then after, then a couple of hours after they died, it would be quite a different thing. Maybe the mouth open, eyes closed, or might be both open, looking at you, without looking at you. So they usually talk about the body that is decomposed. You actually meditate on impermanence, not only of the dead body, but also the things around you, things in your life, things you used to do, things you used to have, things you used to have interest, now you don't have. How many people of same age that you used to play and do things are no longer here with you. They died years ago, and we are still thankfully alive. And so people who are lazy must remember that death is ticking, like a clock is ticking, and therefore if you have not heard teachings, but if you have heard teaching, you got the practices, then you must compare your notes on the 4 common foundations. The first foundation is to meditate on impermanence and death. So they say that all things are impermanent, particularly people born in the earth, born in earth, have no set lifespan. Some continents, human realms, have fixed lifespans, 500 years, 350 years, everyone. Nobody dies young, and everybody lives to the full lifespan. Like in the north, Uttarakuru and eastern Purva Videha, and so on. Whereas we on the southern continent, we have those in the rose apple continent, we have no fixed lifespan. Average is 100 years, used to be many years ago. Now, over this many thousand years later, these last few centuries, people think we're living longer, but actually we are living shorter than, say, 5,000 years ago. We don't have a record how long people lived those years, but teaching says that this is a time where people are living shorter and shorter and shorter. Even shorter, but some couldn't even live until 10 years. They could die below, age 10. Some in barely a few months. So there's no fixed lifespan. Other realms, the human beings live fixed number of years. So that's why we need to meditate on the uncertainty of our lifespan, inevitability of death, and then how futile, even though not only our life is certain to die, but all the things we use to keep and maintain our life, food, medicine, profession, recreation, activities, enjoyment, all of those things can become cause of immediate death. Many people have died while playing, while enjoying, while traveling. They had no intention to die on the sporting festival. They have every hope they will have many years, but many have died. So one needs to think of how many among our people are dead and how few that are living. And the more people that are living, simply less of them you recognize them. Most of those you recognize are disappearing. You're among the few strange old ones. All the young people don't know you. All your other friends have disappeared. So because of that, one needs to meditate on impermanence. There are sutric teachings how to meditate on the impermanence in general, 9 different stages of the decomposition of the body that has full limbs together, body that has no limbs but only the body, the head is there, leg is there, the carcass is over here. They usually make you to meditate on this. In Singapore, you can see the there's a special garden where you can go and you visit the different realms. And in Sichuan province now, a Tibetan Lama has built a special place to meditate on death. The whole spectacular, showing all the different stages of death and all the gruesome images of the ancient cemeteries. These days our cemeteries are, body is not even allowed to be seen, put in the most shiny box that they never got to use in life. They put in a shiny box and casket is put soil under it. People don't actually see dead face. So being able to see the dead body and how they decompose, how body is composite of no self. It's earth, water, fire. We can call solid, liquid, and gas. And these are all soluble, these are all transient, these are fragile, and there's a very nothing there that you can see as a life. It just is a life. I would say it's a container. Body is a container. The content is consciousness. When the consciousness leaves the body, then the body is dead, basically. We are animated now. We are animated by the consciousness of the body. When the consciousness runs out of its tendency, then it must leave. So we cannot practice. We cannot afford to be lazy. We have to think of the demerits of laziness. The three types of laziness. Indolent laziness. Indolence is attached to comfort, sleep, and enjoyment, doing nothing. So that's one laziness. Another laziness is distracted to doing other things and then ignore what you have to do. So that's distracted to various things and not focusing on what you have to do. Another laziness is that we procrastinate. We'll say, I will do later, I will do tomorrow, I'll do next year, I'll do when I retire. And people, before they retired, they thought they would have plenty of time to do a practice when they retire. But then when they retired, they realized there are actually a lot more things to do. They didn't get to do while working. And then again, there's no time to do practice. So Buddha left age of 29 knowing he doesn't want to lose his life in procrastination or indolence or distracted or through self-discouragement. Some people become lazy that I cannot do this is too much, I don't know this is too, today is too tiring, I'm busy. So they use a number of excuses. So one needs to see all of those, even in present life, all the setbacks and things are due to laziness. Every single thing that you have achieved in this life is due to diligence. Even people like you, because you're diligent, you can be counted on, you really do things as they have expected you. And the more we have been accountable and efficient to do things, they will respect us. So diligence is the cause of delight and joy in ourselves, as well as those people who feel they delighted to you because you're such a reliable person to them as a son or mother or daughter or uncle or colleague or whatever the case might be. If the one who's lazy do not have much respect from other people. They can't count you. So almost you're nothing. So laziness is cause of depression, rejection of self, low self-loathing, and also other people have reason to put you down because you can't be counted on. If this all happen, then people get depressed. So you can see the laziness usually is a sort of early signs of a depression looming. People have too much time to do nothing. And to do anything is never convenient. So remedy for laziness is to meditate on impermanence, meditate on demerits of laziness, and merit of diligence, and how with diligence we can make our loved ones happy because we did things on time, and they will also rely on us to do, we also are able to do, because of that can boost our confidence and usefulness. Otherwise, laziness can make ourselves a little bit discouraged and self-loathing, and they become even suicidal because they haven't done anything thus far, so they have no hope of doing anything better, so they don't feel like living. So it's got a lot of negative negative emotions, usually depends on the too much laziness, or if those they have remedied.
We have 2 more questions from the floor. Rinpoche, should we go to Zoom and see if there's any questions on Zoom?
I can't see any.
See anything? Okay, let me just double check.
Oh yeah, there is. Okay, there is a question.
There is a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a question. I'm drawn to being compassionate with animals. This is from Michelle. But there does seem to be a lot of anger from the animal rights area towards human who are not compassionate to animals. Can you comment on how to find a way through this? Thank you. Yes. Well, compassion or generosity, whatever we try to do to allay the sufferings of, say, animals, sometimes, of course, people find it easier to be compassionate to animals, like pet. And then on top of that, they want to be more compassionate to other animals, like wildlife and so on. But when it comes to being compassionate to human beings, there isn't any of the compassion left. So this specific object specificity of compassion is a problem. We have to practice compassion to all sentient beings, in whatever grades or color or shape or sizes they come. And of course, most importantly, we have to be compassionate to the very people or beings who we have direct interaction to. Of course, if we wanted to deliberately go out and practice compassion to some things, like people will go to Africa and volunteer 2 months and come home. They don't feel like volunteering in Australian organizations, for instance. So you can always have people wanting to go on their favorite charity or favorite objects of compassion. You can do that. But with regard to animals, remember, animals are still treated by the majority of human beings as an object to enjoy, to play, to use, to abuse, and to as a use for servitude, for eating, for playing games, and they never regard it as equal living beings who too wish to be left in peace. So only there are a number of people like yourself who want to put a lot of effort to show compassion to animals, and then like the duck shooting season, the authority gives a license to shoot the duck, and then all the animal rights people will go there and try not to let the ducks being shot and try to do all of these things. It often becomes a fighting ground. It doesn't become a place of compassion from either side, because one wants to kill the ducks and eat them, another wanted to show their resistance to people who do that, because they think they're legally empowered to do the shooting of the duck at a particular season and so on. These are very complex legal and social issues. But we as individuals, we should learn to show compassion randomly to all sentient beings. If that happened to easy to give to animals, so be it. But there will be always some resistance by some people when it comes to certain beings they can't see why you have to waste your compassion on such things. They are not. We might be compassionate to some animals, but we wouldn't mind eating meat, for instance. So there's a lot of hypocrisy in all sentient beings, and we can't help it because that's the way level we all are. Some people are really try their best. Yeah, they love animals. They want to do anything to save, show compassion to animal, look after injured wildlife, and so on, and so forth. And also they also don't eat any meat. But others they're animal lovers. They will do anything like that, but they don't mind eating meat of some animals. Some animals they don't mind having been cooked and cut up for them. So you can see we are all, this kind of inconsistency exists in all sentient beings. You wouldn't believe, We have Tibetan lamas and two groups now arguing whether we should eat meat, whether we shouldn't eat meat. Because we were all eating meat before. Not all, but maybe some never ate meat because they just felt from the very beginning they shouldn't eat meat because they are Buddhists and they shouldn't directly or indirectly cause any destruction of life. But majority of the Tibetans are brought up animal husbandry, like 90% of all the people farming from the community, they never could see any vegetables grown or all that, those times. But things have changed nowadays, so there's a huge movement of vegetarian movement because now we live in a much more better world where we can get all things, so you don't have to rely on the killing of animals, and particularly as monks and lamas eating meat. The one group in Sichuan, Lama, is very famous. He just changed the whole culture, telling people, look, we who are neighboring to the Chinese Buddhists, who are Mahayana Buddhists, who never eat any meat from all the generations. So they have been taught and raised how is it possible to be vegetarian no matter what you are. You try to find a way to find instead of eating animals. But it never got introduced to Tibet for all those years. But now we get exposed to fellow Buddhists around the world, and also the possibility of just living on vegetarian diet. So one group is really trying to introduce vegetarian, and quite a lot of people are now realizing, gosh, yeah, we're supposed to be Buddhists, not kill any living being, yet be eating one yak every family every few weeks. So they're starting to change, But others are saying no, we cannot change our diet. We live in so high altitude, we don't get any other things, and so this always have caused conflict between people. It's just a moral judgment. I think it's just everybody will try their best to live one way, but I say this quite clearly, blatantly, and it's true. Buddhists teach, Hindus do. Buddhists teach non-violence, but Hindus actually do that all the time without teaching it. All the most Hindus never eat any meat and never wear leather. They're really, really pure because they're pure vegetarian. They wouldn't wear any animal product. They wouldn't wear leather jacket. They wouldn't wear gun boot. They wouldn't wear Ugg boot. They wouldn't wear any animal product. Not only they don't eat, but they're Hindus. We regard them as heretics. Buddhists think they're heretics because they don't follow the Buddha. But Hindus actually behaviorally much more practitioner of ahimsa, non-violence, and then the actual Buddhist people. Like if you look at the Buddhists around the world, the Thailand, Burma, Sri Lanka, all the coastal towns, Vietnam, quite a lot of They all live on seafood and eat all the animals, and they offer the best meat to the monks. They have to offer them fish. But whereas China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, they will never eat any meat. Not because they're monks, because they're Buddhist. Lay people also would never eat any meat. Admirable, because they got something right from the beginning. Whereas when Tibetans came into exile, this is related with animal loving or not loving. Animal eating is not animal loving, is it? When Tibetans came to India as refugees in Nepal, of course they have no home. They have to rent houses, Indian houses. Indians quite happy to find new tenants to rent. But when they discover they're cooking meat, they evicted. Meat eaters could not find any renters. So when the Tibetan communities were established a separate commune, of course it's a relief. At least they can all go and eat meat there in their own communes, and no Indians have to put up with these smelly meat eaters downstairs living. So we going through lots of changes last 60 years or so. This is even story about like some of the highest lamas still eat meat, and most people can't handle it. Most people they eat meat, but yet they think they are Buddhists, they are high lamas, and so on. Even His Holiness Dalai Lama received lots of challenges by people. They say, he is Dalai Lama, but he eat meat, type of thing. So the meat eating definitely has become a thorny issue and very critical topic with regard to whether you love animals or not. Because if you say all sentient beings are mother, you don't mind eating some mother sentient beings. For some mother sentient beings, you really say, oh, mane peme, So we are all full of hypocrites. And that's the nature of samsara. So we shouldn't be too critical of others, because there are always something like that. So with your question, you have to understand those people who think they have rights to shoot or kill or treat the animals as a pest rather than something to keep. Because most people think that animals or creatures that they don't want in the living room or in the yard as pests, and most people don't hesitate to kill insects or that, because they regard them as a pest. But others learn to not mind them and maybe talk to them, maybe give them away or whatever, So it's a good test of each of our tolerance to other sentient beings, whether we harm them or not, whether we tolerate them or not, or and even though we love them, but somebody wants that to be destroyed because they think it shouldn't be allowed. If the shark that cut off the leg of a swimmer today, it has to be killed. But the fisherman goes and catch thousands of sheep, including a shark. It's okay. See? This is the world we live in. So what can we do? This is the complexity of living. So we each have to they say, think globally, act locally. So we have to try our best where we are and try not to be too righteous just because we observe few rules according to the law or the dharma. Doesn't mean everybody will abide by it, because there's no law, don't kill any living being. In Buddhism, don't kill any living being. They are eating it, so God, what can you do? How can they eat without killing them? Somebody do the killing. They don't do the killing. So in Tibet, historically it became a problem. Nobody wanted to do the killing, but everybody wanted to do the eating. So what happened? All the Muslims from Kashmir flocked into Tibet, got the job of killing. They did all the killing. All the slaughterers are Muslims, and all the eaters are the Buddhists. Of course, Muslims eat them too, but they, because there's nobody wanted to do the killing, you know. But they don't mind eating, so it's contradictory, isn't it? Yeah, very, very contradictory.
And in regards to putting deities on our altar, is it okay to put other deities with Buddha, such as Ganesh?
Oh, well, I don't know, where did you get the Ganesh from? Well, Ganesh has two types of Ganesh: worldly Ganesh and transcendental Ganesh. Worldly Ganesh is worshipped by Hindus for whatever Hindus believe in the role of the deities. The transcendental Ganesh is what we call Ganesh means Gan means masses. You know, Ish comes from Ishvara, the Lord of the masses. So Lord of masses, he's a god of wealth. He's god of wealth. In Buddhism, also regards the elephant-nosed Ganesh is regarded as a transcendental deity, and then worship and practice as a wealth deity. But even it's a transcendental Ganesh or deities, we have actually a hierarchy of the statues, or where you put the statues, if you have proper statues according to the levels of their hierarchy. Guru, Yidam, you know, and then Dakinis, Dharmapalas, wealth gods. Wealth gods is the second lowest. And the lowest is the Lokapala. Lokapala is local spirits. So local spirits, even though are not transcendental, like say each location here also there are spirits that belong, that regard themselves to be the custodian of these mountains or the river or the whatever. Traditional people always believe, don't they, you know? So they usually are regarded. Even when we do the prayers, the list of the prayers and propitiation to the wealth gods and the local deities at the bottom. To the gurus, yidams, triple gem, and the dakinis, those are higher. They are actually listed according to the order of their seniority. The reason for that is local deities, local spirits, and the Ganesh-like wealth deities are people who actually regard the wealth is more important. So that's fairly mundane, you know, mundane, which is not mundane or common. Common people don't mind having wealth gods because everybody wants to have wealth. This not nobody says I want enlightenment, no wealth. There's very few people. Everybody depends on that. So anyway, so you can put Ganesh statues on the shrine if you have few different stages, not quite to the level of Buddha, maybe towards the lower ledge. Not because Ganesh is a treated low, but they all have a particular hierarchy. So there definitely is a hierarchy when they put the statues also. They put the main statue, Shakyamuni Buddha, in the middle, and then say Avalokiteshvara on the right, Tara on the left. So they always go right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. And then so maybe Ganesh could be the far left. If Ganesh doesn't mind. But Ganesh is very humble.
Thank you, Rinpoche. And just one final question, unless somebody pops their hand up in Zoom or writes it in the chat. This will be our final question, and is that any advice or antidotes to limit or rid of harmful habitual behaviours?
Sorry?
Any advice or antidotes to limit or completely rid harmful habitual behaviours?
Oh yes. Yeah, bring the bring this shovel and bring the bring the pick to dig them deep. Bad habitual patterns. If most effective remedy is confession. Whether you do the confession through 35 Buddhas or through Vajrasattva meditation, these two are usually recommended. So if you do the 35 Buddhas, visualize the 35 Buddhas, and do the three heaps of homage, heaps of confession, heaps of rejoicing. Because even if you really want to get rid of really bad habits, you shouldn't just think, I'm too bad, I should be free from this, and become so obsessed with getting rid of bad things. Because you don't get rid of bad things without the other two. So you can do the confession, so confession is good, but you have to have homage to you have to confess to not to ordinary people. Ordinary people, even you confess to some, they may never forgive you. So what can you do? If you confess, they don't forgive. But you must therefore have the holy ones, such as 35 Buddhas or Vajrasattva, as your what we call object of reliance. So you have to have proper object to do the confession to, in order to get rid of. And then you have to have a power of regret. You have to have a genuine positive regret. And then you have to have power of promise, that you have to promise to not to pick up that or any similar habits in the future. But you should therefore learn to make a promise to do good. Try to replace the bad with good. And so therefore part of promise. You have to promise to say be kind, be forgiving and generous, and be patient and tolerant and non-judgmental and this sort of thing. Say if you feel you're so judgmental, you're always angry at someone's flaws, and you have come to realize that's terrible. You're always seeing that someone's wrongdoing is pain in the neck. We can't have people like them amidst us. This kind of ultra-righteous judgment. Say, very few people, many people have this. They do few things right and they think they got rights to judge everybody. They don't realize how that is a huge problem, that they need to remedy that bad habits of judging other people. Those who really have gotten rid of their bad, so remedy that, power promise to not judge others. Why? Don't you see the flaws and faults of others? Even if you are good, you do, but you see them as objects of compassion and objects of forgiveness. I too used to be like this in some areas. So don't put them in a kind of a lower scale and look down upon them as one previously did. If one is no longer judging anyone harshly, but with more compassion and equanimity, then you would have gotten the power of promise. Power of promise, and then what have you got? Fourth is power of restoration. Then you're totally restored from judgment and guilt and not thinking that I'm still stuck with that habit, because the habit's gone, because you utilize those four powers. Now, whether you do the confession through Vajrasattva or through 35 Buddhas, these four opponent power must be employed to get rid of the bad addictive habits. Some people, they may recognize their habits as physical, and also it's easier to recognize the flaws of other people's physical habits. But harder is the hardest bad habits is those of attitudes. Judgment, wrong view, righteousness, intolerance to other people's wrongdoing. It's because intolerant. If somebody does something wrong physically, and you couldn't stand it mentally, you can't tolerate it. You just feel, I don't want to belong to this group because he's like that, she's like that. That kind of righteousness makes ourselves such difficult bad habits to get rid of. Mental habits is the worst, hardest thing to get rid of. Physical habits can be stopped at correctional facilities. They just lock you up. You can't do any of that. But mental habits cannot be corrected by other people's punitive measures. It has to come from one's own realization. And through the pure, promise, powerful restoration, self-respect, and forgiveness to others. When you are able to do that, then the bad habits could be got rid of. But to do that, you must have, according to Buddhism, you must have refuge. You must take refuge. You must believe in the Buddha Dharma. You must formalize the refuge, and then take up practice like 35 Buddha's confession or Vajrasattva 100-syllable mantra and the meditation visualization that goes with it.
That's all the questions that we have, Rinpoche. Thank you very much for answering our questions, and thank you for everyone who's joining us on Zoom and Facebook Live. This is our first Facebook Live, so thank you for joining, and we look forward to seeing you again soon, Rinpoche. Thank you so much.